Michelle.
And I'm Caramel. Hey!
Look, where you been? What's this? That's what I want to know. Where have you been?
First
Twin,
of all,
where have you been?
First, I need to know why you asked me where I've been. Where have you been? Okay?
No, ma'am. We all know whose issue it is. Caramel McCoy has been doing any and everything. We must catch up. I
Yes.
mean, what have you been doing?
So all of the things that require what you got to do when you're an entrepreneur, it always is remarkable to me that from day to day, there's always another activity that's based on what you did the previous day. But then sometimes you're like, I wonder if I can make something new happen. And that's kind of where it's been for me. Every day it seems like there's a new challenge or a new thing. And I don't know, it just seems I seems a little spastic, right? A little spastic.
Okay, so let's catch people up so that they'll know, because everybody doesn't remember us. It's been a minute, okay? So I'm Michelle, and I have brick and mortar businesses. Like I own a couple of insurance agencies, and then I have a brick and mortar business called Studios, where I rent out spaces to people in the health and beauty industry. And so I'm brick and mortar. Then my best friend started the business at the same time. And what did you start, Caramel?
I'm an e-commerce business. All my business and everything that I do and what I sell is online. And I do a travel business where I take small groups of women to various places around the world in ease, comfort, and style. I now also have a coaching business. I call it, it's kind of loose, really more training, but it's turning into a little bit more coaching, which is a little bit different for me. And then I also own some real estate out there. Anybody want to buy a building? I got a commercial building for sale.
And so we came together to talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to be in business, because we're best friends. And every morning we would wake up and we would talk about our business in great detail.
Sure.
And we thought, well, you know what? We can share these stories. Others could benefit from it because,
That's
we're
right.
geniuses in business.
That's right. Well, even beyond the genius part, like we are people who believe in moving the needle forward, walking one step at a time towards a destination that we never know where that's going to lead us, but we know that it is positive towards entrepreneurship, towards your end goals, and just doing the things that we want and interest us, and be curious about and say, God, this was great, or gosh, I don't know if this was such a great idea either.
Well, the thing of it is, we started about 6 years ago, and 6 years ago looked really different than what it looks like now. And what I would say about that is that I know for me, my knowledge base is so much more. And I know that I am, it has morphed. Things that I used to do in terms of money, I would just spend money, spend. And I really didn't calculate the ROI like I thought I was calculating. Like I thought I was doing better than I really was.
ROI, return on investment.
Exactly. And so when I thought that I was doing that much better than I really was. And so I was making money. And being in business can be a lot like living. You can live check to check in business.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And that's something I think that a lot of people need to understand. It can be tight. And a lot of people think if you have a business, you're making money. No, that is not necessarily.
Well, the goal is to make money, but it also is to understand, to your point, return on investment, and make sure that the activities that you're doing are going towards your ultimate goal. You can be in business and have a 9-to-5 job. Listen to that. You can be in business and literally be working every day, 9-to-5, or sometimes 9-to-9, and living paycheck to paycheck, to your point. Or you can be living in business where you're like, the business is supposed to pay for the things and give me a little bit more room and slack. How you make that happen is based on how you feel like you need to work in your business. Some people love going to another job.
First off, in a business, if you work in 9-to-5, that's your first problem. Because I don't know, not one week that I've worked 9-to-5. And what I mean by that is the hours that I put in, it's going to be way more than 40 hours. Sure. And so when I look at what has happened and how things have evolved, I work on the business all the time. Mm-hmm. I can't turn it off. And now my spouse is working in the business as well. And it is like, we were at dinner last night and we were just talking about it. So of course that's a business meeting because we talked about business. And so we go from talking about our son to talking about business number 1 to business number 2. And so what has happened since the time we were dealing, I sat down and we were both engaged in the 10K experience, the small business, Goldman Sachs small business, 10,000 small businesses. And we had to do a growth plan. And we sat down and we did those growth plans. And I'm going to be honest, when I had to do that growth plan, it really spotlighted what I needed to do. And I'm implementing that plan right now, and it's working. And a part of my growth plan was making sure that we develop relationships with realtors and mortgage people so that we can get referrals. Because right now, insurance is tough. By the way, if you need a quote and you live in Alabama, Mississippi, of course you can call me. But it's tough right now, and you have got to figure out how to consistently be able to get business.
And see, what's so funny about what you're saying is that my business also went through some restructuring, some things going on. I actually was building the business up in such a way that I had enough revenues coming in and an active model that I put the business up for sale. And since I put the business up for sale, I have recognized that there were people out there who don't understand what my business is because it's outside of the normal traditional travel model. It was more difficult for people to even see and identify if it was even a good, viable decision to make to buy it. So I recognize now that you can build something so different and so out of the box that when people can't put it in a regular construct, you have to find a unique buyer who'll be willing to invest in that and take it to the next level. That was huge for me because in my head, all I needed to do was make a whole bunch of extra money. All I needed to do was make the books go up, to add more trips, do all the things, grow it. Well, that's not always necessarily true. And so I had to come to the realization that you got something unique, girl. You may not sell it. You may need to scale it back and make it the way that you want it to and kind of reinvest. Like the phoenix out of the ashes. That's my way I put that. Like we were at one stage. Now I'm restructuring till we'll be at a different stage.
And that's what I think happens once you're in business for a while. Then you start doing some things. I've gotten involved in social media more. I know that your other business sprang from doing some things. Talk about the funnel and money and what happens with funnels and all that. I mean, it's interesting because I've gotten into that space of I love TikTok, and now it's probably going to disappear.
Oh, right. In the news, everybody's talking about how TikTok is going to go away. It's so funny. I never did get into much social media. However, I'm using social media to springboard another business. It is the training business. I do have a funnel. I had been thinking about
Miss Caramel, what's a funnel?
I have been thinking about when you're on social media and you see all those people who are coaches, who are selling a thing, telling people that they can have this fantastic life. I knew I wanted something in the training realm. So when
you watch it, when you're playing Candy Crush and a video pops up, that's a part of a funnel. What they're trying to do is get you to click, and then now you become engaged, and then you're going to get emails and follow up.
And at the end, you will
and
buy
she shows
a product.
up 50 times. You want that free life, shows up 50 times. That's a part of a funnel.
Well, what happens is people don't know they're being targeted, or they've heard about being targeted, but you really don't know the machine behind what targeting actually means. And the machine says that as many times as I put an ad out there and I target the right people, the people who would want my product, they will then buy that product after they've been touched and seen so much of my video. I come from a space where I'm wanting people to be my best friend, be my friend, understand who I am. And because I am so, I guess you could say, down to earth, they feel like they know me. So when they come to my trainings or come to my offers and I give them the pitch at the end of the funnel, I get people to buy that thing. And let me tell you, buying that thing
He's a Pied Piper now. No,
the Pied Piper. Now, I don't want you to misconstrue that I'm selling anything that I don't believe in.
No, and I think that sometimes that takes on a negative connotation, and it's not that you're doing anything
nefarious. I'm not being untruthful. I'm really offering the thing that I know works. And when people buy it, my job and goal is to make sure they're successful at it. It's different than, it's not different. It's a sales pitch, just like any other sales pitch that's been going on for years and years and years. It's just the way that the regular guy, the regular woman, the person who's your next door neighbor can get into this thing and actually make something lucrative at it and have like a real income. I will say that it's changed my life even in the last 6 months, that I've been able to, make some real adjustments and start paying some people and doing some things that we would have never been able to think about doing in my traditional business, which
she has employees now.
I do.
W-2s.
W-2 employees. But here's the thing, that growth that's bigger than I just needed to have employees. Now there's so much money coming in that I have to have a way to partner with the IRS. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving it all to them. And I mean that.
calls it's so funny because our take on this is how I feel about the IRS. Give Caesar their money. Do not play with Caesar. Give Caesar his money because I don't look good in orange, and I ain't trying to have my freedom taken away over.
And that is not the way I look at it. I don't want to give him any of my money, and I'm figuring out a way that doesn't have to happen. So I believe in being a partner with them. And when I partner with them, I show them, hey, this is all the things, and I don't owe you anything, and they're good for that. And that's what I want to do.
And this all I got to give you. That's how I feel. This I ain't make nothing, so you can't get blood from a turnip. There it is.
You know what's so funny? We're talking about this, but what I have also learned over the years of being in this business is that it requires change. That no business that it started 7 years ago is the same business. And if it is, you probably are stuck, or you're just kind of existing in the same framework and not really expanding on what it could be.
Or the growth. If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's something I learned in a program. If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's simple as that. And it's interesting about that because a lot of people, when we were doing our growth plans, decided right now I don't want to grow. Like right now, I just want to sustain. I want to plateau. I don't want to sustain. And so sustaining is fine, but you're still shrinking. If you're just sustaining, you're going to be shrinking because things go up, costs go up, things are not the same. Yesterday's prices are not today's.
Listen, and you know, my business model on the main business, which is Women Travel Abroad, that business requires that 40 people actively be paying on trips, 50 to 60 people. And I'm down, I think, to 36 people right now. It's bad for me. Like, I'm just being completely honest of that one part of the business. However, I have another part of the business, another business that's doing phenomenally well, that's having to prop up the business that's not doing so well.
And that's something you have to realize. You have got to have streams of revenue. If you've listened to the program in the past, you've heard me say, I want 5 streams of revenue. And I'm actively seeking another studio setup of where we can rent out space to other people, because that's a passive income that I don't have to do a lot with. And that's something that I want to do. I've got some other things that I'm looking at, propping up a training program, because I too have training abilities. Sure. And so it's so funny. She's been trying to get me to do the funnel. I've got so much on my plate. The biggest thing I need right now, and when I say this, she's going to say, I've been telling you, I need an assistant so bad, because it's costing me money now, not having an assistant, because there are so many projects that I have going on that I'm not being able to get them and put them together. And I would dare say that's what's been holding up CEO Chronicles, not having an assistant to go ahead and schedule this thing out and say, hey, you guys said y'all were going to do this, you know.
Sure. Well, you know, you think that we say all the time, you do the things that you want to do. However, there are so many things that go in the average day that it becomes second nature to the thing that's not making any revenue, the things that's not doing any money. That kind of thing will kind of fall to the wayside.
And I think also we have believe it or not, we are workaholics, but we do have parameters. There are parameters that we don't infringe upon. We talk 50 million times a day.
We do.
We have business conversations continue. It's the getting it together, having it look a certain type of way, and do the podcast.
Yeah, because can't you notice our wonderful new background that we have on here?
Look, I'm going to check out this light and see if that looks this. Oh, see there.
No, as a matter of fact, now that you just said that, let me turn my light to the side. Look at how! Oh my goodness!
Ta-da. So because we have expanded it now, trying to do podcasts, because people want to see us. I know we're beautiful. You want to see what we look like, but we also record it. So therefore, working all of that out, we're doing all of the things because we do want to monetize this. We want to go to conferences and talk about podcasting and so forth. But there again, there's so many things and only so many hours in the course of the day. And like to your point, you do have to prioritize the things that make you money.
Yeah.
They call it spending on business now. That's what
I don't have the luxury to decide that it's okay that Women Travel Abroad is only having 35 people who are actively paying on a trip when I know I need 50. Now the luxury is, okay, well, if this isn't working because I have to stand something up and I'm fixing some things, well, let me move over to this other side where the money is going, and I can go ahead and accentuate that until I can get that back on the road again.
And that's what happens. And you're in, and that's why you have to have, okay, but then that is a loop right there.
Sure.
If you only had one business, would you focus and it would never get down to 35? Or is it because you got the multiple, now when one is not firing, I shift to the other, it's going. So I wonder about that. Is
Well,
like,
I'm gonna let me engage. I will tell you that there were some outside factors as to why that's happening. I am in the travel business, international luxury travel. I may have changed and tweaked the word to experiential, but what that really those words mean, they're expensive. I'm not offering a Groupon trip. Do you understand me? And no
right,
disrespect to Groupon. I love a good Groupon, but that's not
baby,
what I
does
offer.
she ever?
But to that point, because I don't offer Groupon, well, there's a lot happening. Election time, recession time, expensive. To Five Guys, you seen that thing on Five Guys? It was $25 for the man to get a drink, a burger, and a fry. And they like $25. Everybody was going
He
crazy.
got a drink because mine was 21 for a burger and some fries.
You see what I'm saying? So because of that, people are like, wait a minute, stuff is expensive. So the people that would come to me, those people look a little different. And now they are starting to kind of sit back and say, well, what is this going to look like? So some of this
And
is
some of them question, should I spend money when others are not doing as well? Sometimes there's a guilt. Wealthy people, I didn't realize it because I never had any money like that. But sometimes wealthy people feel guilty. Should they be, spending when other people are, back?
well, I say that because I don't want anyone to think that I'm not working hard in that business because I am doing all the things. We done revamped the website. Why are you keep turning off that light? What is wrong with you in that light? What you doing?
You're fine. Continue.
I work very hard in that business. I'm strategizing. We used to have a website that was completely too hard to navigate. Back 2 years ago, it was great because people spend a little bit more time. Now people are back into it. They're not dealing with that panda. The word I don't like to say. You know that one period of time
The
where everybody was.
pandemic, baby. I made a lot of money during the pandemic. So say his name. Say his name.
Well, because of that, I had to make my website and optimize it to make it easier to navigate. I had everyone was going to the website and seeing it said sold out everywhere. So they were looking like, well, shucks, you don't have nothing available. So I had to move sold out below and have everything that we have available at the top. So there are some things that have to happen in that business that are but right now it's hard out there for that business. But this other one, I see it happening. And I can say this, I
Delayed hard.
strategize.
I
I
think there's some
strategize
delayed
knowing when it
hard
was,
times now.
huh?
And I would say there's some delayed hard times now because we all thought it was hard during the pandemic and coming out. But I think doing business now is becoming more difficult in some other ways. We're starting to see the residual effects because some things
100%.
are still high that shouldn't be high. Like with insurance, our factors, I was reading an article and it was saying that the cost of repairing cars is still high. The
Yep.
cost of getting parts are still high. So they're talking about all these factors that they're not going down, and
Yep.
they're higher than they were pre-pandemic.
Yep.
So when is that? So some people are making money and they don't want to let that money go, and so but yet they're putting pressures on also claims that are happening with attorneys. A lot of
Yeah.
people love all these ads and you talk about these lawyers, but they are driving prices up. And
Yep.
so not bashing lawyers because we got to have them and they got to make their money, but you're
Yep.
driving things up.
Yep. I and to that point, I want to be very deliberate when I say this out loud to the people out there. Business is not easy. There are people who think that there's an easy button. When I do my funnel and I'm helping
Let's
people,
not even be clear. Let's make, I'll say it. It is hard as hell. let's
well,
let's be clear. Business is hard as hell, and anybody who tells you it's easy, they need to write a book and say my business is easy.
what's so funny is when people come to my training, I tell them up front, I'm not going to do the work for you. So if you're here thinking that you were going to have this done for you, that's a wrong answer. You don't get that for this price point, right? Do it for you looks like a little bit different because I know what it takes. So I will say that I think that people who are in business and are staying in it, they are understanding that the navigation process and moving forward is hard, and you have to look at
As
it as that
hell.
way.
That's the book. Business is hard as hell. We just got through reading a book, Relentless from Good to Great to
Yes.
Unstoppable by
Yes.
Tim S. Grover. And let me tell you, because I read the book Great, and so I was
Mhm.
being great. And so all of a sudden, Tim tells me I need to be unstoppable.
Right.
That's going to be the difference maker now because everybody is getting a business now. Everybody's starting a
You
business.
see what you see? I seen a grown man crying on the news last night talking about how TikTok was going to take away all his money. I thought to myself, my goodness. And I've always told people that remember my platform that I built my business on is Meetup. And Meetup, that's another thing that's a factor because I'm dependent on them getting my message out to all my 11,000 members on their platform. If they shut that down, all of my 11,000 members that I sell to, that goes away. And it's like somebody being responsible for me not being able to make my next dollar. That's a little scary. That's why I have to diversify.
Well,
That's why I have to have
and I
separate
think
businesses.
everybody is missing the point. Pretty much all businesses operate like that. I am an insurance agent. Okay. If you make changes, the carrier I'm with decided that they weren't going to write business in California.
The end.
The end. We period. Pooh. We pulling out of California.
And you like, well, wait a
So
minute. I live in California.
So the agents in California do not get to write business. That's like TikTok shutting down, boo. So what did they do? They had to parlay and roll into something else, and they are
Yep.
soldiers out there, and they are marching. They're being unstoppable.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to have a plan because what if this? That's what you have to have. You have to have. I think we call it a whisk plan. It's something we call it, and it's where we go in and we type, "What if this happens?" And we have to have scenarios of what to do if this happens. And
I remember us talking about that in the the
pandemic. I
yeah,
made money.
I don't use the word, but I remember the man who made the peanuts for the airlines, and then the airlines wasn't in the air, and he had a store of a stock all in peanuts, and where are you going to sell him peanuts now? Well, that goes back. You can't just sell peanuts to the airline, because what if because nobody would ever.
The thing of it is, the airlines, you thought it was solid. You made millions of dollars for years. Whoever thought the airlines? Because I really want them to go back to the peanuts because I'm tired of them little mixed nuts and whatever that crap. Anyway, I digress.
But to that point, if you're in business and you're thinking that it's going to always stay the same, you will be sorely surprised when it doesn't.
That's why you have a growth plan. Where are my opportunities of growth? Where do I look at my business and see where I liked it to be? What would I? So on our board now, I have what our goals are for the year. And we look at it every day. Then we see where we are in relationship to it year to date. And then where are we this week? And we talk about these things daily. And I have seen a lift. I've seen an improvement. We started on one number. We started at 59.59 and now we're at 72. Our goal is 82. We're getting there. You see what I'm saying? We're getting there. We're making anything you focus on, that's where you have the improvement. And so this show is about catching up and where we've been and what's been happening. And as we continue forward, we'll be back on our schedule. We will start breaking down weekly what we're doing because we talk in detail. We talk about cash flow.
Sure.
We have a strategy now that we're using. We both use is that when things get difficult, stop, do day to day.
Day by day.
And that sounds like, what do you mean? How much money or what do I need today to get through today to make it work? And then I have that tomorrow is going to be what it's going to be. And yesterday is already gone. Nothing I can do about it. And
so what can I do today?
Through a lot of difficult issues and difficult times until we're now that strategy has freed me up to look at opportunities that are out there and what can I do to generate on this day some more money. But now I'm only worried about what do I have today? What do I have to pay? And what do I have to do today? Now we still do projections, nothing wrong with projections, but you have to get to a space where you're not stressing so much that you're paralyzed, you can't even move to the next thing. Yep. And this is what I'm going to say. I did a video about this and I'm going to share this with you. I didn't get a chance to tell you about it, but I did a video about living your chasing your dream, but you're living a nightmare. So you are wanting to be a business owner. You're wanting to have this business. You're doing all the things that you think you should do. And your life is crashing down around you. There's no part of your life that's working and going well. Family is suffering because you're spending too much time in the business. The business is not growing because you don't have the cash that you need to grow the business. You can't, the customers, the products, there's not one piece of shining light. And it's been like that for 5 to 6 months and it's getting perpetually worse. That's a nightmare. And it's time for you to stop. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what I count for us in this business. I've never had a time where it's been a nightmare for a long extended period of time. I've had some bad dreams, But no, you get what I'm saying? And so that's what I think business owners need to look at, is that in this thing, when you agree like that, we've had some rough times, but nothing that's been a nightmare that where my family was suffering, the business was suffering, I was suffering, you know what I mean?
Well,
All of
I'll say this, because of the planning that was put in place, I could see the future and when it was going to get rough. And so I knew it was going to get rough. So therefore I had to do a thing to make sure that when it did get rough in one space, I would be ready. That's what happens for me. My projections always better. You used to say it all the time. You picked on me. I'm never living for what's happening today. It's always what's happening next year. And so,
I will say you're getting better at that. And what I mean by it is that you're getting better. You still project out, but I feel like you're getting better as in living the moment and interacting and dealing with, because I think sometimes you could be so far ahead that the right now becomes, you don't even
well, what
enjoy it.
what has happened is I had to, because what I projected came to fruition. So what I thought was going to happen is happening, and so therefore I had to make an adjustment. And so now the day to day is, to your point, helping me feel like and realize, okay, what's today look like? How can I be very concerted and make an effort towards the target, but also be clear about not making the investment in the new thing, the new hotness that I would have done before, because that's what I am. I'm the new hotness.
And
So
I've learned too, throwing money at it, it's not always the best way to handle some
sure.
things. And that's different for me because I don't mind spending money, but what I've had to do, and I guess for me, what I really mean by that is hiring. And so I made a plan, and my plan is a model with a scaled down team. Because remember, our definition of scaling is being able to grow with what you have and not having to do more, not having to add more, but you're able to scale with what you currently have. So I have a smaller team, and I am scaling with that smaller team. And
Sure.
I'm now realizing I'm getting a little more money in the budget and being able to have, but when I get that, I'm not rushing out hiring somebody. And I've had several scenarios where people have contacted me. Hey, I'm looking to get a job. I'm looking to make a move. They already got licensed, da, 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 da. And typically I would have seen that as a sign that, hey, I need to hire these people.
Mhm.
No, I have been holding out and saying, no, that's not my plan. That's not what I said I wanted to do. I'm going to stick to what I've got to do. And I think you need to do that. You need to stick to your roadmap, to your projections.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I recognize that I will not be able to grow by myself. I am an e-commerce business. I am not based in someone working for me, but I recognize the value in the people that I do hire in my team. And I take my team in all of my meetings now when it's time for us to invest, because they now have a clear picture in their respective sides of each business that I work in, what needs to happen. And that has been really a big deal for me, because I no longer have tunnel vision. I'm not in a silo. And I think that business owners who, especially in e-commerce, we can be in a silo and not recognize the value that somebody else outside, a teammate, can give you. So there's some insight there into what that looks like in the
And teammates
future.
can give you insight even in brick and mortar. We had the conversation this morning in our morning meeting. I said, hey guys, I need your input. When I ask you for a question, I need you guys to put your input. I said, because that's where business models are going, that you got to get your input from everybody that has to
Yep.
play an active role. And in a small business, you may be the owner, but the people that work with you, those people have ownership too, because if they leave, so goes the business,
100%.
if the business
100%.
goes down, their lives are is as affected as yours is affected.
100%. 100%.
So
I think that as we're moving and leaning into the new year, I guess it's a little bit further than just the new year, but leaning into what is about to come, I really want to make sure that I'm strategizing and being in the know of what trends are saying. So I'm paying a lot more attention to what's around me, what's happening in my industry, making sure I'm clear on that, and just being very astucious and making sure that the decision that I make, I feel it in my gut, but I also see it in the
well, you get
numbers.
information, and then what does your gut say on the
Yep.
information that you have read and obtained? And whatever industry you're in, you need to know what your industry is doing and industries adjacent to your industry,
That's
what
correct.
they're doing. Best friend, I've enjoyed catching up with you.
Me too. I can't wait for another episode.
I can, but we're going to do one soon.
Love you, girl.
Love you too, bestie.